Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we are returning to War in the Pacific, Admirals Edition, our Let's Play series against Hartwig. We are on, it is April 29th, 1942 of our Let's Play series. Hartwig has been in charge for, what, 3 or 4 days now? And we are also beginning our Allied counterattack. Potentially this turn, if not this turn, then next turn. S-boat got a torpedo shot off at a Japanese cargo ship and still didn't do any damage. Bastards. Now they're gonna have to deal with the depth charging that they're gonna get because they were brave and aggressive boys. We'll go ahead and fast forward through that. They didn't take any hits, so good at least in that sense. Grouper is firing some torpedoes at another Japanese cargo ship, this one off of the Japanese coast. No hits there, although I guess thankfully there were no hit but no explosion. That cargo ship's really dodging a lot of fish here, or the skipper just doesn't know how to fucking aim. Look at all of these torpedoes missing. He's gonna there's your obligatory hit but no explosion. The skipper needs to be fired. He doesn't know how to fucking aim. Firing some deck guns, it looks like, as well. No hits there. More torpedoes being fired and no hits. Deck guns being fired and no hits. More torpedoes missing. There we go. One single deck gun hit on the enemy ship against the upper works. The enemy ship is shooting back. Another 3-inch gun hit there. So we've got 2 deck gun hits. I think he might have run out of fish. I don't know if he has any torpedoes left. Another hit there. Yeah, so I don't know. We'll have to take a look at who this skipper is, but I feel like firing him because he just wasted an entire cruise of fish on a single ship, and he only got 1 hit even, and that hit didn't even explode. And now he's withdrawing because he's low on deck gun ammo. What a... God fucking damn it, what an asshole. Pardon me, this is not a family stream today, I guess, but... Yes, Lake, I will blame the skipper when they all miss. He didn't get any hit. He got 1 hit but no explosion. The rest just missed. So, yeah. Anyway. No, I don't think they ran deep. You're just giving that skipper excuses. I don't know if the run deep era is true in this game. I think those were genuine misses. If this was U-boat like in the original tutorial, maybe I could execute a sailor for treason. Anyway, 3 hits, not much damage to the enemy ship, and there we go. So, I guess some excitement on the submarine warfare aspect of things. Shore bombardment here in Java, or one of the islands south of Java here. I think that's our last remaining bastion that's not Batavia itself. Japanese are also bombarding Batavia here again. I think they bombarded the last 2 turns, or maybe just last turn, with heavy cruisers here. We'll go ahead and fast forward there. They did 169 casualties, 3 squads disabled, as well as some non-combatants. A few guns destroyed, 10 airbase hits, 12 runway hits. Doesn't look like they destroyed anything on the airfield itself. Oh, never mind, 3 Catalinas damaged. And only 2 coastal guns fired back. God damn. Meanwhile, we are bombarding Savi here. So if you remember last turn, we bombed Savi with aircraft. And this turn, we have our own heavy cruisers closing in on the Japanese forces here to bombard Savi. We've got the Australian cruiser Canberra firing its 8-inch shells there. I think we have like 4 or 5 heavy cruisers in this task force. That is our beginning of our counteroffensive against the Japanese here. Canberra is closing. Now we've got Australia in on the act as well. And we'll go ahead and fast forward through this. Louisville, Northampton, and then we've got a couple of light cruisers in there as well. So you can see we bombarded with 5 heavies and 2 light cruisers. Only 17 Japanese casualties here. 33 runway hits, 9 port hits, 8 port supply hits, 2 airbase supply hits, and 3 airbase hits. So a fair bit of supply hits there. 2 combatant squads are disabled, and 1 non-combatant squad is disabled. Okay. We are landing our troops at Curry Island, which is just near Midway as well. So the Allied counteroffensive continues here as we begin the work of isolating the island of Midway by taking that dot base hex just next to it. No enemy opposition there, although we did lose a few casualties in unloading incidents on the atoll. Moving into the air operation phase here. We'll go ahead and fast forward. Japanese sweeping over Quilin. We pulled our bombers out of there a couple turns ago. Remember, combat first, then the medicinal alcohol stores. We've got some Marys. Are those bombers? They look sleek. I don't think I've seen that. Bombing some troops here north of Yan'an. I don't really have any troops left on that road. That's a pretty much empty road. We've got Sally's also hitting Quilin there. Some of the troops and runways. 23 runway hits, 3 airbase hits. So they are definitely focused on closing that airfield to make sure we do not bomb Hong Kong again. Smart. 5 Sonias hitting Allied troops at Clark Field. We've got our own airfield or airstrikes coming in here. 23 Warhawks, 12 Havocs, and 12 Marauders hitting Savi again. We had a pretty successful turn last time in bombing the Japanese troops there. So I think it was 2 days ago we lost 2 or 3 aircraft to ground fire. Last turn we lost nothing and had pretty good success. So this turn we agreed to continue bombing. When you add the fact that we also bombarded with warships, I was hoping that would maybe make a more effective air attack. 3 squads disabled, nothing destroyed. So at least we're keeping the Japanese troops heads down on Savi or whatever is left of them. No Twitch. I actually haven't had any hard stuff lately. I've been having a little bit of beer every now and then, but nothing good to report on the whiskey side. Okay, that's the end of the air phase, AM phase. PM phase, we've got some Oscars sweeping at Batavia. We've got our own fighters rising to meet them. 7 other aircraft made it through. 1 Oscar destroyed, 1 Warhawk destroyed. So we'll have to take a look at that and see how the Dutch fared in that air battle once the fog of war is cleared. 12 Sallies are hitting our troops at Mole Mine. So that's the first we've really seen of any Japanese bombing attacks in Burma. Makes sense, they're hitting the airfield there, trying to make sure to close that airfield before we can bring our own air units forward. So a bunch of runway hits. These guys are 22 runway hits. Jesus Christ, that didn't even... So that's 48 bombs total they dropped, and they got 27 hits. 12,000 feet is low, but that's not that low. That's remarkably good accuracy for the Japanese bombers there. Okay... I've got an 18-year bottle of Macallan Twitch that I haven't opened yet. All right, so I think that's it. Oh, here we go! Battleships! Woo! The Warspite is bombarding Midway, so the Battleship Bombardment Task Force made it through to Midway. So we landed on Curry Island, and we've also begun the softening up process of Midway. The goal here is basically to nuke the airfield to make sure if there are any aircraft there that they're not going to rise again. You can see the Warspite is in there bombarding. The Mississippi is in here bombarding. I think there's 6 or 7 total battleships here. So we're going to turn Midway into a wasteland. We've got the Royal Navy involved. We've got the American Navy involved. And we're gonna give them hell, boys. Dropping some 14-inch shells in here with the Mississippi. The Warspite didn't fire for very long, which is kind of interesting. The Mississippi's been firing quite a lot. It felt like the Warspite fired like 2 salvos. Now you've got the New Mexico in here, so we'll go ahead and fast forward through that. We've got Idaho, Oklahoma, Nevada, Colorado. Only 127 Japanese casualties. No combatant squads destroyed or disabled, which makes me think the Japanese may not have much at Midway itself. You'd think there'd at least be some troops suppressed there. 127 casualties. No coastal guns fired in retaliation, so that means there probably isn't a lot there. 1 engineer squad disabled and destroyed. 1 gun destroyed. 8 non-combatants destroyed. 11 disabled. 14 airbase hits. 2 supply hits. 26 runway hits. 11 port hits and 4 supply hits here in this battleship bombardment. And I think that's going to do it, at least pre-land attack phase. So we've got a Japanese bombardment at Batavia, where again their naval forces continue to bombard, so now their land forces are bombarding. Really going to kick the fatigue and pressure up. Counter batteries still doing a little bit of work there. You can see 10 Japanese casualties, but 2 squads destroyed, 2 disabled on the combatant squad on our end. and the Japanese are going to wear us down there. Bombardment attack at Clark Field, less effective because they don't have any naval forces bombarding there, but you can see our troops returned fire there, 17 Japanese casualties, no Allied casualties here. I'm hoping that the ineffectiveness of his bombardments at Clark is going to convince him maybe that we have more supply than we really do, and maybe that'll force him to send some additional troops there. Meanwhile, the 3rd of the 298th Infantry Battalion, which landed at Curry Island, is going to launch an immediate shock attack, and they have taken that dot base back for the Allies, and Midway now has a adjacent Allied base. Granted, it's a dot base, so we have no airfield capacity there or anything like that, but it does allow us to put some ships in sort of that anchorage, which should help with our bombardments of Midway as well. And then we've got some expanding fortifications of expanding airfield at Townsville, Canberra expanded fortifications, Wagga Wagga expanded fortifications, and Tiansu expanded fortifications. So that'll do it for the combat phase of April 29th, 1942. We're going to go ahead and jump ahead to take a look at what the turn looks like outside of the replay here. So I'm going to go ahead and load that up, and we'll get going. Flying Scotsman, I think the Warspite was the Grand Old Lady, but I could be wrong. Just waiting for all of this stuff to roll through. I Dislike Cats, thanks for the follow. Appreciate the support. Oops, wrong button. Okay, so let's take a look here. Our battleships withdrew to... Well, they didn't withdraw at all. They should have pulled back to Midway. Where are they? I don't... Okay, so we've got 3 battleships in this task force. I'm wondering, let's see here. These guys still have, well, not a ton of ammo. And then we've got 3 battleships in this task force, which have, actually, these guys didn't even fire most of their ammo. So these guys can fire again. This is why we split the task force here. So we've got the Idaho, which is at 10 rounds, and New Mexico is at about half complement. Mississippi is about half complement. Warspite is about half complement. They actually have less ammo on the Warspite, which maybe that's why they fired fewer shells. But we split this up into 2 task forces. We have our replenishment task force, which is on the way to Curry Island with fuel, and then we also have a AKE task force, which has supply, which will be able to rearm the battleships with ammunition in the Curry Island base. But for the moment, they're going to take another day or so to arrive. So we're going to have this task force with the Idaho bombard again, and then we'll probably try to bombard again with the Colorado as well before we pull them back to Curry next turn to replenish, mainly to try and keep the Japanese troops heads down who are there. We have unloaded the troops here at Curry Island, the 3rd 298th. You can see here they're still in mostly good shape here, and they've taken the base there. We could load them back up on those transports and try and land at Midway if we don't think the enemy has many troops there. But the rest of our force is still a little bit of a ways away. We've got the 109th Base Force, which is on the way to Curry. We've got the 2nd 298, which is on the way to Curry. And then we also have the 1st 298th, which is headed toward Lausanne, but will eventually make their way toward Midway or Curry as well. So we've got 3 elements of this battalion. I think the battalion itself will be enough to take Midway once we've kind of beaten down the fortifications or the troops a little bit more. We've also moved in some PBY Catalinas into Curry as well. So we've moved about 20 Catalinas in to give us a better picture if the enemy does start approaching, so we can pull our ships back. We also have the Hornet up here, which did not actually launch any attacks against Midway last turn. At least I don't remember seeing any coming in. which is a little bit unfortunate here. It does say we did fly some sorties, but I don't remember seeing any air attacks on Midway, so I'm not sure if it was just combat air patrol or what. It is claiming some of these SBDs gained some experience, but I'm not sure doing what. So yeah, but we're gonna sail them west of Midway here, and then hit Midway from the air with our 4 groups or so of what do you call it? Dauntlesses. And yeah, so anyway, that's what's going on in the Central Pacific. We take a look at the South Pacific at Savi, where we had those cruisers bombard. Let's get down there. We can see the enemy has about 2,300 troops and 14 guns on the island of Savi. Our cruisers did withdraw to replenish their supplies, which they have done. They're operational. It looks like they did most of those replenishments last turn. We do need a little more fuel in the destroyers here, so I don't know that this group will be able to make it up there again for another bombardment. We'll see. But we've split our cruisers into 2 bombardment task forces. We're also loading some troops on one of our amphibious task forces. The 8th Marine Regiment is loading up, and they are going to go and land on Savi as well. Maybe this next turn, we'll see. I think there's still some of the regiment to load up, but not much. So they might actually finish loading the regiment this turn and make it to Savi. If not this turn, then they will probably land on the following turn. So it's going to be like a May 1st or 2nd counterattack here at Savi. So Savi will probably fall first, although I guess technically Curry already fell. So the first of the 3 short-term objectives has fallen, although there was no one there. Taking Savi will be nice. And then eventually I'd like to go off Canton Island, but the main reason we can launch this counterattack right now is we know that the Japanese carriers are a long ways away, or at least they were as of the last intelligence that we had on them. We don't know if they've left Singapore or not. We are still showing over 200 ships in port here, but I thought I saw a carriers trying to head away a turn or 2 ago, shortly after Hartwig took over. We are also seeing a task force moving southwest here, which is claiming float plane tenders, so there could be carriers, or they might not be. But in any event, I'm guessing he's going to relocate his carriers maybe toward the Central Pacific, which will make a counterattack at Canton less assured. Like, we won't be able to just stack battleships up and reload from like Enderbury Island or anything like that without a risk that the enemy may come for us. Midway will fall before the enemy can relocate their carriers in Savi as well. But we'll have to see if Canton is still in the cards for a allied counter stroke as well. Now, we did have the air battles over Java, over Batavia last turn. So if we take a look at the fighter aircraft here, the P-40s only have 1 ready aircraft left. The Hurricanes still have their 2. 6 aircraft are being repaired. So I don't see any experience bust for those pilots. One of the pilots got some more experience in the Hurricanes. And if we go to the air losses tab, we lost 4 aircraft in air-to-air combat. The enemy lost 1. Enemy also lost 1 aircraft to flak and 6 operational losses. So if we take a look here, we're going to see 2 enemy Sallies, 2 Babs. We lost 2 Warhawks in air-to-air combat. I'm assuming those are the Dutch Warhawks. And then they lost a Topsy, an Oscar, a Mavis, a Zero, a Catalina on our end, and a DO-24 on our end, both shot down. Presumably these guys are on recon missions, got shot down by Cap. And then we also lost 1 DC-2, I'm assuming transporting supplies into China. So let's top pilots. We lost 2 pilots KIA. Those are American. So I don't think we lost any Dutch, at least not any of our aces. We've got the 1 MIA Dutch pilot of a P-40E. We've got the 1 Dutch ace with 5 kills, and everybody else still sitting on 4. We also have 2 wounded in action pilots. Ship sunk last turn. No reports of anything there. Actually, let's go up and take a look at that American sub, which wasted its torpedoes. It was so prolific. Oh my God. He fired off 16 of his 18 3-inch gun ammunition tokens, and then he fired off every last torpedo. Every last torpedo is gone. 3 in these 2 forward tubes, 3 in these 2 forward tubes, 3 in these 2 forward tubes, 3 in these rear tubes, 3 in these rear tubes. They didn't get a single fucking hit. Lieutenant Commander Hurd, you suck. And look at that rating. He's got a 34 aggression rating, which is low. His naval skill rating is 66. I mean, that was a pretty aggressive attack for a guy with a shit-ass aggression tactic. Maybe he was firing submerged, but no, he was using his deck guns, so we know he wasn't submerged. I was going to say, like, one of the things that actually Silent Victory, the book by Clay Blair Jr., does a really good job of talking about is how a lot of the initial American subskippers were actually trained to fire their torpedoes while submerged, which makes a lot of sense in a modern world where you have smart torpedoes and better sonars. But in World War II, firing submerged with dumb torpedoes in the beginning of the war, not going to do much. The fear was like, if you even have your periscope up, the enemy ASW is going to be so good that you will die. So fire from submerged. And so, like, the captains who probably weren't fit for fighting in World War II followed the doctrine. The captains who were maybe a little bit more aggressive or knew how things were going to work fired from the surface or from periscope depth. Now, most of the torpedoes don't work anyway, but that doesn't mean that he was going to... I mean, he had 1 hit but no explosion, and the rest of those were misses. So I think I'll have to talk to Evoken because he's been helping us manage some of our sub-skipper logistics, but I think Lieutenant Commander Hurd may not have a future in this man's Navy. At least his future may involve lots of papers and desks, so we'll have to take a look at that. What do reinforcements look like a G-Men? Ground reinforcements. I think we've got some stuff coming in. The 11th Indian Division arrives in 2 days. 3 days we've got some base forces. In 5 days we've got the 174th Infantry Regiment arriving at Tacoma, but they are locked to the west coast, so can't really use them. The 21st Chinese Corps comes in 8 days at Chongqing, and the 148th Infantry Regiment, which is assigned to the South Pacific, comes in 10 days at San Francisco. Ship availability, I don't think we've got a ton coming soon. I mean, other than like the obligatory cargo ships and stuff, a couple of submarines. We've got a Atlantic-class anti-aircraft cruiser coming at Balboa in 4 days. But not a lot coming in the next 12 days or so. I think if we go to LA, we have a division that we're saving at political points to unlock. 41st Infantry Division here, set to no replacements, no upgrade. We have 204. I thought I had more political points than that. I could have sworn I was like 5 days away from having enough political points to unlock this division, but maybe not because we're a ways away from that. Unless there's a unrestricted headquarters in its area, but I don't think there is. It's West Coast R. All of these are restricted except for the air units, so probably not. Okay. So anyway, 41st Division's there. I know we were looking at possibly unlocking maybe another infantry regiment or two. But yeah. So 7th and 9th Marine Regiments, by the way, are sitting ready to get loaded on transports in LA. And I think those are the only immediate things that we can expect. We could do, that would be interesting if we did the 159th Motor Infantry Regiment armored. It doesn't have any armored units, so here these are all just rifle squads and some anti-tank guns and mortars. Its TOE doesn't even have anything here. I would say, is this really mountain, not motorized? But MOT is clearly motorized. But there's no heavy elements here, so I don't. Motorized Army Arm. But your TOE has nothing interesting. That makes no sense. But yeah, in a couple of days, that unit could be unlocked, the 159th. They could still be a good ground unit. I think that's it. Anytime soon. We did have that one regiment arrive in Tacoma this turn. The 58th. They're already assigned to the North Pacific. They've got better artillery complements than that motorized unit. So we're going to move them to LA. We've got some transports sitting in LA, I believe. Or on the way. Yeah, we've got 7 APs in LA. So we'll have 3 regiments in LA soon, which is basically a division, whether it's formalized or not, between the 2 Marine regiments and that Army regiment on the way. These guys are all assigned to Hawaii. A couple of regiments from different divisions. We've got some tank battalions in Hawaii as well. Three armored battalions. One of those is unlocked, so we could send these Stuarts elsewhere. Let's go back to Burma here. So how does Mo Mine look after that bombing? Only moderate damage to the airfield there, so very limited there. That's good news. Expanding the airfield there. We're expanding here too, right? Yeah. Also working on forts at Mo Mine to deal with the eventual enemy counterattack. Do we still have our B-17s at Batavia? Because with all that naval bombardment, a little worried about getting those guys out. We do. So let's go ahead and get these guys out. There's 2 B-17s ready at Batavia. We're going to fly them out to Mandalay, where they're going to merge with their squadron and the aircraft that already fled there. And actually a 3rd B-17 here in this group that's going to fly out as well. I do not want 4-engine bombers destroyed on the field at Batavia, although we still do have 6 of them that are on the tarmac at the moment. Are any of those guys going to be ready to repair? One of them tomorrow. So that's good. Another one tomorrow, so that's good. And these guys are a little bit longer. So 2 of the remaining 6 aircraft should be able to get out tomorrow. Hurricanes, I don't think we have any in the pool to withdraw reinforcements from. We don't have any Warhawks to draw reinforcements from either. So the air power at Batavia is going to slowly whittle away. How about those pilots at Savi? Did any of them gain experience? I know we shuffled a few of the pilots off screen. We also have some B-17s that could hit Savi as well if we really, really want. But it's nice to be bombing Savi as well with some uncontested bombing there. We can get some experience for some of the pilots there, get a little bit of a training regimen going, and with some real combat experience for some of those guys. Although I'm not sure that ground attacks is super useful for the P-40E pilots anyway, except for the general experience level going up. But you can see several of them did gain some strafing experience. We have 15 B-17s here that we could hit Savi with as well, and we have targeted Savi for a ground attack tomorrow. Ground bombing is actually a good trait for a lot of these pilots, so that'll be nice. The Royal Canadian Navy has 4 subs. I'm not sure exactly how many they have. Hauser, if you're still around, you could probably weigh in on that. We do have that 1 brigade of Australian militia that we somehow shanghaied to defend Christmas Island. Someone was telling me in the comments of one of my videos that like any of the Canadian troops that were fighting overseas had to be volunteers, I think. And I think they got around that in North Africa, in the North African campaign, because they said it was part of the Dominion or part of the Empire. So it was technically internal defense. But like for the Pacific theater, very few troops served because nobody wanted to volunteer to fight there, and their priority was Europe. Apparently they had committed a division to the invasion of the Japanese home islands, I believe. This is what the person was saying in chat. But by that, if that's all true, then we got a brigade of Canadian militiamen. We were like, do you acknowledge you wish to fight here? I'm not going to tell you where you're going, and now you're on an island in the Pacific. Because they're not even regular troops, they're militia. So, yeah. Well, I don't know. Is there anything else to look at this turn? I mean, we already looked at reinforcements. We looked at ship losses. We looked at aircraft losses, pilots, reinforcements. Not a lot else changed this turn. I'm not sure if anything else makes sense. Let's take a look at the supply situation at Clark Field. It's bad. It's very bad. We have 2,800 supply left in the Hex. I think we had about 3,000 last turn. So Everybody's beginning to starve slowly, some units faster than the others. The 1st PI Base Force, 86th Coastal Artillery, 200th 515th Coastal Artillery and Anti-Aircraft, 1st USMC Anti-Aircraft, all starving at the moment. No supply at all for those guys. Batavia was still working on fortifications, but I think the naval bombardments probably slowed them down. They still have over 40,000 supply there. I think that attrited by about 1,000 last turn. I don't have enough troops in the pools at the moment like a G-Men, but eventually, theoretically, we could upgrade them from the pools, and they are unlocked, so we could redeploy them as needed. Okay. Not a big rush for me right now with the Canadian troops. We've got plenty of American troops coming online at the moment. Stranglehold, thanks for the follow. Yeah, is there anything else? I guess we had this one S-boat over this way. Where are they? We had an S-boat somewhere. Yeah, the S-35 here. These guys fired torpedoes on a cargo ship and missed. Well, it says they have full complement, so maybe it wasn't this S-boat, or maybe they didn't really fire. Oh, it was S-34. They fired 1 of 3. They missed, but unlike Captain Hurd, or Commander Hurd, Commander Peters has a better aggression rating of 63. And his naval score is less, but he didn't waste his entire complement of ammunition missing, so good for him. What is possible to get with our current political points? There's some stuff possible, reader, but I'm saving up. I'd rather unlock some bigger units. We've got about 248 political points. There's nothing large that I want to get with that yet. Meanwhile, our carriers are at Bombay. What I need to do with these guys is, like, some of these groups need to replace their air wings. So some of these F4, F3 air wings are under strength, and I really need to get them to an airfield where they've got enough size to upgrade the aircraft. At least that's what I thought. Yeah, so like this F4, F3A Wildcat group only has 19 aircraft, and there aren't any aircraft in the pool. We do have F4, F4s, but I need to get to a bigger port or a bigger airfield in order to replace them, I believe. So it would be nice to have a full complement of fighters on those guys. We have messed around with some of the other air groups to have some of those aircraft carriers have some. Here's another one. These guys are under strength by 2 planes. Have some British torpedo bombers where appropriate. We do have a few albacores in the pools. Got a few swordfish in the pools as well. But yeah. He missed, but only a few times, so he wins. Goddamn right. Listen, if you're going to shoot your torpedoes and you don't hit, but you only shoot once, then you still retain 5 more, salvos worth of torpedoes to go and get other ships on other turns. Meanwhile, this other guy, Commander Hurd, Lieutenant Commander Hurd, sailed his submarine all the way from Pearl Harbor. He wasted all of this time at sea. How many days, how many weeks to sail all the way out here to Japan? He arrives at Japan, and then he instantly fires 20 torpedoes or whatever the total was. Didn't hit a single goddamn target. No, sorry, he got 1 hit, but it was a hit but no explosion. Now he's going to be returning to Pearl, asking for a full complement of fish. So this is 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 torpedo or 15 ammunition slots here of 2 each. So in theory, I don't know if they really carried 30 torpedoes, but that is 30 Mark 14 torpedoes that he fired. He got 1 hit but no explosion. He had 29 misses, and now he's going to return to Pearl Harbor in a couple weeks. He's going to have no claim to any hit, any sinkings, any tonnage, anything like that. All he's going to have a claim to is the fact that he wasted 29 torpedoes on a single cargo ship. He didn't attack the convoy multiple times. He didn't attack 5 different ships and got unlucky. He didn't fire at a carrier and missed and just kept trying because it was such a high value target. It was an individual merchantman that he fired 30 fish at. He even fired 16 times with his 3-inch gun. And they like, okay, so we got 3 hits at the 3-inch gun, but yeah, goddamn, this guy would get fired so fast. This guy would be relieved the instant he gets back. And Lockwood or whoever's in charge at the moment, the submarine fleet's like, you fired how many fish? You got no hits. You fired how many rounds of your 3-inch guns? You did what? You're never going to see again. And that's also true because while the Navy was busy covering up how bad the Mark 14 was, they also had a shortage of Mark 14s because on December 8th or 9th or whatever it was, the Japanese bombed the naval base at Manila, Caveat, I think it was. And there was a subtender there. I want to say they had like 200 Mark 14s in storage there, and basically blew them all up in storage. And so a huge percentage of the forward ammunition stockpiles were destroyed, and the submarines themselves were also just using more fish than they could produce because the industry hadn't cranked up. And like, torpedoes were the smart bombs of their era. They were not fast to make. They were complicated. They were some of the most complicated instruments at the time of war breaking out, and they were using them much faster than they could make them. So again, you fire off 30 fish without a hit, you're fucked. Meanwhile, in terms of what we could potentially move forward to Mine, we don't have any anti-aircraft there. Do we have anything at Pegu? We have a couple of AA gun units at Pegu we could move forward, maybe. I think it really only makes sense if we're really going to decide we want to put air units up at Mine. We don't have any aviation support there either. It would be interesting, but I mean, we could also fly CAP from Rangoon. We've pulled most of our fighter aircraft back into India, so I don't know. Meanwhile, he did advance some units across the river near Yan'an. The 33rd Corps, with no infantry left, only 20 support troops, is facing off against Japanese units there. Okay. So it doesn't look like the troops south here are moving west yet. So I'm not sure if he's going to go for a flanking maneuver at Cyan or not. He's obviously moved a few troops forward, but we don't have any indication of where that massive armored column went. I'm not sure. So no real indication there on what to expect in China, other than the fact that he continues to bomb Guilin. He has shut that airfield down pretty effectively. The runway damage is up to 52. That's fine. I'm not gonna deploy any fighters at Guilin anyway, or bombers for that matter. So yeah. I don't think there's anything else to show here today. So that's where we're going to wrap up today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this look at War in the Pacific, Admirals Edition, our next turn in our Let's Play series against Admiral against Hartwig. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave your thoughts down below. And until next time, as always, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching. And until next time, I'm out.